one of the biggest reasons which I wanted to communicate to you from the conservative community and why we feel like we have to be so strong on
and the conservative community, meaning the straight community, or just the conservative community?
Politically conservative. And the reason why this matters so much, especially deeply for those of us who have kids and see what's happening in the school system, is because at the moment that you say that there is no objective reality, everything becomes possible. And some people hear that and they're like, yay, Disney World, everything becomes possible. But the reality is that if you say there's no such thing as a male and there's no such thing as a female, and anybody can decide what they are when they want. They can say, I'm a different race, I'm transracial, I'm transsexual, I'm transgendered. Then eventually and very quickly, we will wind up at people saying that, and there have been examples of this, people saying that they're actually a different age. So you have a 60-year-old man, but it's not funny because this is real. But this is real. You have a 60-year-old man who is saying that he self-identifies as a 13-year-old, and these people go and they commit acts of pedophilia. This has happened, right?
And they have places where they go and be babies, and they
exactly.
So
and this is real. So this is all going to get added onto the LGBT. I don't view gay.
I don't want
that
attached to our community.
But you say you don't want that.
I want to make that statement that people like that, because I've heard that in different statements, and once again, is like crazy that as a trans person under the umbrella, I'm just lumped with these people
but maybe that's their perception.
But that's
what I'm saying. But I don't
their perception of life.
And I get that you don't identify as that, but it is ideologically speaking the same thing. If we don't say that there is an objective reality, it would actually be better if a trans person said, I accept this is actually a mental disorder. I don't want to say to people, because by the way, people have other mental disorders. Bipolar. I've got people have this.
That's why
schizophrenia.
Is there another word? Is there another word besides mental disorder?
But because it is okay, because this is, but I don't think this is triggering. I don't know why suddenly people are so triggered by this. It's your mental, and something is out of order.
But it's because it's not real, Ken.
But some people don't like to eat food because they want to be.
Just give me 1 second. Let me just get through this, okay?
Sorry.
It is, right? So there can be people, that's right, who have body dysmorphia. That is a mental disorder. You have people who are anorexic. I used to have anorexia. I had a mental disorder, okay? I was tiny, and I was doing it as a control mechanism. I was very happy. In fact, the only way to actually get better was to accept that this is a mental disorder, okay? I don't have an issue with that term. I don't think it's a problem, because at varying points in people's lives, your mental can get out of order. The issue when you don't acknowledge that it is a mental disorder and you instead just insist that like this is a normal thing and people are born this way, means it becomes impossible to attack that person. Ideologically speaking, if you start making laws and saying this is real, then that guy who says I'm 63 years old and I believe that I am 12 on the inside, I never grew up, this is who I am, Peter Pan, send me to Neverland, and he molests another girl and he goes into the courtroom and he says, no, I'm 13. Objective reality is what
Neverland
I feel, right? It's how I feel on the inside. And I actually, Your Honor, feel that I'm actually 16.
That's against the law.
Now, here's the question.
Here's
the question.
But this is why we have to be a guard, and I'm speaking now on behalf of conservatives. We have to be a guard, and we have to say objective reality exists, okay? Objectively speaking, bipolar, it's a disorder. Anorexia, it's a mental disorder. Transgenderism, dysmorphia is a mental disorder. These are all mental disorders, right? And
anorexia is a mental disorder. Being trans is not a mental disorder. So we have to stick to the facts. It is not anorexia.
So if someone
and
believes
schizophrenia
they're fat
is
and actually they're skinny, you say you have a mental disorder.
I got a good question.
But you're saying that you are a male, you believe you're a woman, and that's not a mental disorder.
I'm just being specific. Trans and anorexia, mental disorder and not mental disorder. The APA, you only have to ask the APA. These are trained psychiatrists. And I understand that conservatives all want to say that's to fill an objective, but at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Well, they just updated that manual in the last couple of years. Like,
yes, exactly,
because it was literally a mental disorder.
But it was misinformation, and conservatives in the past.
And someday they'll update that same manual and they will say that minor attracted people, which is a term that they're tossing around now because they're saying it's offensive to call them pedophiles, and we should instead call them minor attracted people. Someday they're going to push to update the manual then, which is why I insist on being a guard against that.
And
there is objective reality.
I don't want that attached to anything to, what LGBTQ.
How do you feel about that? Talking about people saying I identify as a 12-year-old.
Damn, I had something good I wanted to say. I feel like I want to know this. This is a good question. How many people in the world are suffering from some kind of mental disorder? Is it majority of the world? Is it 89%, 93%, 43%, 2%, right? That's how we'll understand where we all are mentally, right? Because sometimes you'll have it this phase and you'll get out of it this phase, right? Like you said, you had a phase you went through and now you're out of it, right? How many people in the world are statistically suffering from a mental disorder? Because I think that's how we'll respect the word mental disorder as opposed to your perspective in life.
It just means that your mental is out of whack.
But how many people in this world are going through that? I mean, we probably won't be able to figure it out now. But that's a very good question, because that will give us a good scope on people's perception of what a mental disorder is.
I genuinely don't say that to be triggering. Like I said,
No, I'm fine with it. It just sometimes it triggers. I'm fine. I've been
it is weaponized, but I'm good.
Disordered from the beginning, right? You know.
Yeah.
I think it triggers because I think it triggers you because you've gotten it your whole life, and
it's not a trigger, but my point is that I have to represent not only myself, but the community, to put out the information out there that's factual. And I know you're a boss with that. You're all about the facts. Yeah. The facts are that it's not a disorder. Yeah.
And we got to do a poll.
But I understand that some people's opinions. I get it.
But I just think that when people see this, and obviously the internet will internet, but when they hear you call Rachel Dolezal, like, that's crazy. When they hear you say, like, oh, the idea of identifying at a different age is crazy, but then you being like, but this identifying different sex is the real thing.
Be very specific.
I think people are going to say, okay,
no, but I'm very specific with my words.
I want you to give us time to go back and analyze the question in its entirety.
No, but
because
for me,
as I've done my study, I've studied a lot of things that I've seen, right? That question is a very, very last question of all that kind of like puts the wall up on.
It's not a wall. It's just telling you that this doesn't make sense. That's it, right? And that's so you feel like it's a wall because you're like, oh wait, suddenly I realize this doesn't make sense, and it's a slippery slope, and now we can end up with pedophilia.
It's just a great question.
Yeah, it's a great question for a reason, because it instantly lets you realize, hey, there is such thing as an objective truth, and if you cannot be ideologically consistent, then your idea makes no sense.
But
that's
it's
you have to be able to apply it here, and I'm applying it here. Rachel Dolezal is not black. A person who just thinks that they're a race does not make them so. A person who thinks that they're a gender does not make them so. Both can play dress up.
But can I make a point? You brought up Rachel.
It's a cheat code question. Yeah. And I think we need to go back and like analyze the question a lot more. And let us dissect the question. It's a
the comment section will.
It's a very powerful question.
No, but I think that's interesting that that's brought up, that they're going to jump on that. But I know what I said on camera, so that's fine. They can say what they say. But
it's like the atomic question.
But you see Rachel for that. But I never called her crazy.
No,
and I also was respectful that if she wants to live that's her choice.
And by the way, we all feel that way, but they will hear you say that she is not black. And then hear you say, but I am a woman.
What happened?
No, but hold on, because I said I'm not a biological woman.
That's fine. That's fine. And she's not a biological black person. But neither of you are. You're both.
See, I got a lot of white friends that's black. But I'm identifying as a trans woman. So see what I'm saying? I'm owning what I am. So that theory doesn't work. If I was sitting here saying that I was biological woman, I feel like I would fit in her category, and that's the truth.
I don't think she said she was a biological black person.
No, that's was what the whole statement was, that she was telling everyone
that she was
from
black.
the city that she's in.
Yeah,
I mean, it could be in a conservative black neighborhood, or it could be in like a cultural neighborhood like we grew up in.
Based on what you said,
she has been embedded in the community, and she has been crowned, and she has been blessed.
So if she just came out and said, I'm transracial, and then lived as a black person, then you would say we're the same.
No, because for me, I own that I'm not a biological woman and that I'm a trans woman. So that's why I feel like so many people take harm from it, respectfully, because there hasn't been chats like this before where people like me have spoken out and said that. Yeah. And that's going to gag people because people are like, oh, I didn't know that. I thought you go around saying you're biological. Mm-hmm. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. Everything is so specific. And when you start lumping it into terms and into categories, it doesn't work like that. That's not life. We have to be be specific with different people in different scenarios. Me next to the next trans girl, we might not meet eye to eye at all, and you might be like, I can understand you, but I don't understand what they're saying because it's just out of field.
This is a great debate
Yeah.
because we're actually talking it through.
And
And I think there's so much more of it that needs to happen. Like this is a continuous thing that needs to happen. We would love to do a monthly week, like a weekly.
Well, tell us, Ray J, just so we can wrap this up. And by the way, I do think this has been a very constructive conversation, and I feel at the very least respected in the fact that you recognize that you and I are not the same.